Hello everyone and welcome to Iland Technologies presentation, and today we'll be looking at DrayTek wireless security. In this webinar I'll be going through some useful information that should help you to improve security in your wireless networks. My name's Darren and I'm the Queensland sales rep at DrayTek Australia and New Zealand. The topics I'll look at are wireless security basics, wireless security protocols, wireless security risks, and security settings in DrayTek wireless routers and access points. If you have any questions during the video, please comment in the chat box on the right of the screen and stick around at the end for a 5-minute Q&A session. Don't forget you can pause the video or skip back anytime if you'd like a longer look at anything or to hear it again. If you're watching this after the live premiere, please comment below or send an email to sales@draytek.com.au. So let's start by looking at wireless security basics and why we need to enable wireless security. The definition of wireless security from Wikipedia says that wireless security is the prevention of unauthorized access or damage to computers or data using wireless networks, which includes Wi-Fi networks. The term may also refer to the protection of the wireless network itself from adversaries seeking to damage the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of the network. So in essence, it's saying that it is the prevention of unwanted users from accessing a particular wireless network, ensuring that data remains only accessible to authorized users. So why is wireless security important? Well, unlike traditional wired networks where data communications go through shielded copper wire or optical cable, wireless radio signals literally traverse the air. That means that the wireless signal is exposed to anybody within range, and they can attempt to gain access to your network or get free access to the internet at your expense. Malicious users may try to gain access to your servers and confidential data through an unprotected wireless network. Another factor is when using free Wi-Fi hotspots in public areas. That can also expose users to security threats. Wherever the wireless traffic is unencrypted, hackers can easily monitor the traffic and steal personal information. Wireless security works by firstly encrypting the wireless communication by using a wireless security protocol, which we'll discuss shortly. Another step you can take is to restrict access to wireless networks by using passwords or an access list based on the MAC address of Wi-Fi clients. DrayTek wireless routers and access points are now shipped with Wi-Fi security enabled. The default WPA and WPA2 password can be found on the label attached to the base of the unit as shown here. This provides extra security for users who may not always get around to configuring the Wi-Fi security on their devices or not quite understand how to set it up. Now that we've had a quick look at some wireless security basics, let's go a bit deeper and look at the different wireless security protocols that are available in DrayTek routers. There's 5 types of wireless security protocols now available. WEP is the oldest and is the least secure. Later WPA protocols are more secure, but the early version of WPA also had security issues, so this was replaced by WPA2. And now we have WPA3, which is the most secure. Both WPA and WPA2 can be used with PSK or 802.1x to authenticate users. PSK stands for Pre-Shared Key. OWE, Opportunistic Wireless Encryption, was introduced into DrayTek routers in the latest firmware. Let's look at these in a bit more detail. On most DrayTek routers and access points, you'll usually still find WEP, even though it's no longer ideal to use these days. The reason for its weakness is that it uses a static key, which can be either 64-bit or 128-bit, and hackers have been able to easily crack it. The reason it's still there is that older Wi-Fi devices may not support the later and more secure protocols, and using WEP is still better than using no encryption at all. Still, don't use it if you don't have to. As we can see here, WPA, WPA2 and WPA3 can be selected from the pull-down list in the wireless router or access point configuration menu. WPA3 is the latest security protocol, and I'll go into that one shortly. One new mode now available in DrayTek wireless devices is Opportunistic Wireless Encryption, or OWE. This is an extension of the IEEE 802.11 standard, similar to SAE. I'll explain a bit more about SAE shortly. OWE secures data transmitted over an unsecured network by encrypting it, and users are not required to take any extra steps or enter passwords to connect to the network. This is a great one to use in open networks. When you have security disabled, you had to ensure that you were using HTTPS or a VPN to access the internet to prevent eavesdropping by a hacker. Now with this security mode, all wireless data is encrypted, which gives you some protection in an open Wi-Fi network. Since OWE is a new standard, it may not be available in older wireless client devices, so you'll need to check that before using it, but usually if a wireless device supports WPA3, then it will also most likely support OWE. Looking at some history in the development of WPA encryption, WPA was developed over a number of years with improvements being added. Prior to 2003, WEP was the standard, but it proved to be not very secure. So in 2004, WPA was ratified. It offered much better security than WEP, but it still had some security issues. So in 2008, WPA2 was developed, which offered greater improvements, amongst which was AES encryption. It was the gold standard until 2017 when the crack vulnerability was found. If you'd like more information about that, go to crackattacks.com and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. This resulted in the development of WPA3. The initial versions of WPA3 had some flaws, but these were fixed in later versions, so now WPA3 offers the best Wi-Fi encryption system and it's recommended to use it wherever possible. The enterprise version of WPA3 goes even further, requiring the use of a back-end radius server, 802.1x authentication and 192-bit encryption instead of the 128. There are a number of features available in WPA3 which includes higher level encryption. WPA3 now uses 128-bit encryption or 192 bits in WPA3 Enterprise. Perfect forward secrecy is used where new session keys are continuously used to prevent previous communications being decrypted if the key of a current session is compromised. Wi-Fi Easy Connect is a system designed to make adding devices to your Wi-Fi network easier without having to enter the Wi-Fi passwords, particularly for devices which don't have a keyboard or their own user interface, such as IoT devices. Protected Management Frames, PMF, prevent deauthentication attacks. This is also now available in WPA2, however in WPA3 it is mandated in the Wi-Fi certification. DOS and brute force lockouts. WPA3 recommends that vendors implement mechanisms to help prevent DOS attacks and refuse new connections from a client after several failed connection attempts. Speaking of brute force attacks, one additional feature is that WPA3 uses a method called Simultaneous Authentication of Equals, or SAE, replacing the pre-shared key, PSK, used in WPA2 and earlier. In both methods, a password is required to connect to the Wi-Fi network. Where SAE and PSK differ is in the ability to protect against brute force attacks. With PSK and a relatively weak password, you could capture a load of wireless data and then run a dictionary attack on it offline, that is, against the data set on a computer, not against the live wireless network itself. Once you have the password, you can then use it to connect to the live wireless LAN. SAE authentication cannot work offline, it has to operate on the live wireless LAN, so a brute force attack can be detected by an AP and shut off after only a few failed attempts. I've touched on some of the wireless security risks already, but let's take a closer look at some of those. The main security risks that we face on wireless networks are brute force attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, and packet sniffers, but there are a few others and some vulnerabilities to be aware of. The first one we'll look at is a brute force attack. If a hacker wants to access your network wirelessly, they'll need to know its password. They could get lucky and see the password written somewhere, maybe a post-it note stuck to the PC, so don't do that for starters. If they can't get the Wi-Fi password, just as if a burglar doesn't have a key to your apartment, they'll then have to use force to get in. In the case of Wi-Fi, this involves using trial and error to guess the login and encryption keys to gain access to the Wi-Fi network. Most commonly, they will capture wireless LAN traffic, which includes the four-way handshake when a Wi-Fi client authenticates to the wireless network. Then, using commonly available tools from the internet, the hacker can use a dictionary of commonly used passwords, which can have up to 15 million entries, and work through all the possible combinations to find a match for the four-way handshake. Once they have that, they then know the password. This type of attack can be done offline once the hacker has captured the wireless data. So how can we protect the wireless network from brute force attacks? First off, we can use complex passwords that aren't in that dictionary, use long passwords with a mix of alphanumeric, upper and lowercase and special characters. You can also control who you give the passwords to and where they are written. For corporate networks, you can use 802.1x WPA Enterprise for authentication, but if you have a later model router or access point, use WPA3 security protocol if you can. Another security risk for wireless networks is man-in-the-middle attacks. This is where an attacker can eavesdrop on the communication over the wireless network and intercept messages between the wireless client and destination server. Along the way, the attacker can steal confidential data such as credentials, credit card numbers, or banking details before relaying it to the intended destination. In the diagram here, the attacker can set up a rogue DNS or SSID in a public network and intercept any communication between the wireless client and the destination server. In many cases, when using public Wi-Fi networks, you may not even be aware that a possible man-in-the-middle attack is happening, but there are some signs you can look for. The first is unexpected or repeated disconnections. Here, the attacker forcefully disconnects users so that they can intercept the username and password when the user tries to reconnect to the Wi-Fi network. Another thing to watch for is strange addresses appearing in the browser address bar. The change can be minor and you may not readily notice it. For example, you might be redirected to www.google.com with a 0 instead of an O in the name. Also, avoid free public wireless networks where attackers can create a fake SSID to trick people into connecting. So what can be done? First off, only connect to secured Wi-Fi networks that use WPA2 or WPA3 security protocols. Use a VPN for communication to secure sites. Use HTTPS for web browsing. This way any communication is encrypted, making it more difficult for the attacker. There's an extension available for popular browsers called HTTPS Everywhere that makes this easy. Use multi-factor authentication. Use DNS over HTTPS where available. This will help to protect against DNS hijacking. Finally, monitor activity for unusual behavior, such as those we covered in the previous slide. There are some things you can do on the router side to prevent man-in-the-middle attacks as well. One of these is to force the router to use a DNS server IP address for a specific LAN. This setting is in the LAN General Setup page. The DNS setting will be that under LAN 1 in this example. Just click on the Details tab for LAN 1 and enter the DNS setting. And here's what you'll see. We've entered Google DNS servers here. The next step is to go to DNS security settings in the Applications menu. Here we enable DNS security for the WAN and select Drop for bogus DNS reply. You should see the green lock icons for both the primary and secondary DNS settings, indicating that DNS security is enabled. Another thing you can do is to use the Rogue AP detection feature. This will detect any unknown access points in the network. Currently, it's available in the Vigor AP 1060C access point. You can find it in the dashboard menu under Monitor Radio. Rogue AP detection is also available in network management platforms such as Vigor Connect and Vigor ACS2 or 3. Another security risk is from packet sniffers. These are normally used to analyze traffic transmitted over a network for legitimate reasons like troubleshooting, monitoring network usage activity, and security. But in the wrong hands, they can be used to steal confidential information such as usernames and passwords, banking and credit card information, or to view email content, and even for identity theft. The solution here is to use encrypted communication over the wireless network. For example, use HTTPS for web browsing instead of HTTP. If you're using HTTPS, you should see the closed padlock icon in the web browser search bar as shown in this example. Another security risk that is sometimes overlooked is the Wi-Fi protected setup function known as WPS that is available in most wireless routers and access points. Having WPS enabled makes it easier for users to connect to the wireless network without the use of a pre-shared key. It's as easy as pressing a button on the router or access point. Then you have a short period of time to establish a connection from a wireless client device. However, WPS also makes it easier for hackers to gain access to the wireless network. They can use methods such as scanning the local network and use PIN brute forcing attacks and WPS pixie-based attacks to gain access in as little time as 15 seconds. The solution here is to disable the WPS function in your Wi-Fi router or access point. In DrayTek routers, it's as simple as deselecting the WPS option in the wireless LAN setting menu as shown here. Let's now check out some wireless security settings in DrayTek routers and access points that you can use to enhance your wireless security. Shown here are the Wi-Fi menu options for both the 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz bands as they appear in dual-band VIGA wireless routers. DrayTek access points have similar menu options. There are some different menu options in the access points, but the security settings are similar. The first one we'll look at is General Setup. There's 3 security options you can enable here. Those are Hide SSID, Isolate Member, and Isolate VPN. The SSID, that's Service Set Identifier, is the name of your wireless network, also known as the network ID. This is viewable to anyone with a wireless device within reachable distance of your network. It's recommended to change the default SSID to a unique name and pair it up with a security protocol to make it more difficult for a hacker to access the network using pre-compiled rainbow tables. A rainbow table is a table containing the encrypted values for a huge number of PSKs to speed up password guessing. A normal Wi-Fi access point will send beacons containing all the information needed for nearby devices to discover and connect to it, such as the network SSID and supported encryption. The Hide SSID option provides a hidden network that never sends beacons and doesn't announce itself in any way, requiring that a client device to be in range and already know about the network in order to connect to it. That means you'll never see a hidden network included in the list of nearby access points, making it more difficult for an attacker to gain access. However, using a hidden SSID is not as secure as it seems. The reason being that a device pre-configured to access a hidden SSID will be constantly calling out its name. This makes it easy for a hacker to track your device and trick it into connecting to a rogue access point. There are 2 other options within General Setup, Isolate Member and Isolate VPN. While these don't provide security for the Wi-Fi network, they do protect other users in the network by preventing access to each other or to VPN connections. This is suitable for guest Wi-Fi networks where you need to ensure that users don't have access to the main data network. The next menu item is Security. We covered this earlier, so I won't go into more detail here other than to repeat that it is advisable to use a minimum of WPA2 unless your devices support WPA3, in which case go for that. Next on the list is Access Control. This is where you control access to the Wi-Fi network based on the MAC addresses of the wireless clients. You can set up a whitelist where only those devices with matching MAC addresses can connect. Just make sure you include your own MAC address as well, or you'll be locked out. The other option is the reverse, where you set up a blacklist for wireless clients to be blocked from accessing the wireless network while all other devices can connect. Using the whitelist adds an extra layer of security and prevents unauthorized devices from connecting to the wireless network, even if they have the correct credentials such as PSK. It can get tedious to maintain if you regularly have new client devices you need to add to the list though. Another setting that can be used to improve security in the network is to place wireless networks into different VLANs. In the example shown here, we placed SSID 1 into VLAN 0 and SSID 2 into VLAN 1. SSID 2 can be a guest Wi-Fi network that we don't want to be able to access the main network on VLAN 0. But we can use interLAN routing and firewall rules to allow the guest Wi-Fi network to access some resources on VLAN 0 if we want to. So to summarise, today we started by looking at wireless security basics, then we looked at wireless security protocols which included WEP, WPA, WPA2, WPA3 and OWE. Next we looked at some wireless security risks which included brute force attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, packet sniffers and WPS. Finally we looked at the security settings that are available in DrayTek routers and access points. Okay, that's all for now, but please stay tuned. We'll be answering questions in the live chat on the right of your screen for the next 5 minutes. For more information about DrayTek products, please check out our website at www.draytek.com.au or send us an email to sales@draytek.com.au or just give us a call on 02 9838 8899. Don't forget to like and subscribe below, and if you'd like a notification anytime we put up a new video, please give the bell a click too. Thanks and bye for now.